Hey guys, it's ANicWin, also known as Amy, and happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a lovely day. This is a base game only modern home in Oasis Springs. It's one of the 20 by 15 lots. The name should be in the top left hand corner. I forgot which side was left and right. Don't judge me. But it should be up there for you. It's also listed in the description down below. Now, this is not a starter home. It's kind of pricey for the size that it is. It's somewhere between probably 50K and 70K. That will also be listed in the description. So it's not a starter home. It's definitely one that your sim would have worked towards if you don't use cheats, but it's also not super, super expensive either. I didn't use a ton of debug plans. The price could have come down if I had. I just decided not to. Don't fight me. But this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. The kitchen is separate with a kind of dining section in the kitchen as well from the living space. So it's got some room, it's got some room to be, to live, to experience life in this pixel world, but it's also not extravagant with space. Now, the front yard is fairly small. I decided to do this little trellis rather than a roof piece. I initially had another angled roof piece that was facing the back, like facing towards the back of the world, so it wasn't going the same direction as the one there to the left, and decided it just looked a little bit weird with the half wall, but I liked the half wall bit, so I went with the trellis. I didn't hang anything on top of it. I decided to leave it open. I liked the way that the light slanted through. If that's something you don't like and you want to download the home, you can just change that to a slanted roof piece. It didn't look bad, it just wasn't a look that I preferred. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Hopefully that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, but sometimes that doesn't mean it made sense out loud. But I decided to kind of keep the landscaping to a minimum in the front. So we did this sort of rock flower bed, dry weather flower bed. It's got a special name I can never remember until well after the fact. But it's basically all pebbles with there's agave, cacti, things like that. And you water it once a year. That's probably an exaggeration. It's probably more than once a year, but it's not often. So drought. Is it a drought-friendly weather bed? No, it's not a weather bed. Drought-friendly garden. I don't know. It's something like that. We're going to move on. I throw some other cacti down. I throw some palm trees. There's rocks. There's a little bit of grass because there is some in the world. If you kind of look at the surrounding lots and the decorative spaces behind, there is some wild grass, but not a ton of it. So I did pull that forward. I layer the agave with that weird spiky plant. I don't know what it's called. I like the way it looks. I think it looks a little bit more dynamic, and I don't mind that they're 2 shades of green. Again, if that's something you don't like, feel free to change that. I know I layer some things together that are questionable, but I like things that are a little bit weird. I don't know. A little quirky when it comes to interior design. I was going to hang that light there in the center. I decided I didn't like the way that it looked, got rid of that, and decided to go for the hanging plant from the debug menu. I hung the lights on the post rather than by the front door. Again, I just like the way that looked better. And then I throw down a few decorations on the front porch as well. I'm not imagining the front yard is where they're spending a lot of time, but I wanted it to be usable. Since this is a base game home and it's a small lot, you kind of want to take advantage of the space that you do have. I did fence in the backyard, and I decided to kind of use the half wall on the porch because otherwise it raises the foundation of the fence, and it looked weird. It looked wrinkled, and I have no other word to describe that. You would just have to see it to know what I mean, and I did not do it on camera, so I guess I'm just gonna sound a little bit crazy, but I decided to do the half wall and bring that stone from the front entryway into the back. I thought that looked really nice. I gave them a table along with a grill, and you did see the toy chest and now the dollhouse. So I am imagining that this is a couple, a young couple, living with their child. I'm imagining that it's a boy. It doesn't really matter. It could be either gender, but I am thinking that they're between 7 and probably 9. So they're not little, but they're not old. Obviously, they're not little. They're school age, but they're not brand new school age. So we're in that zone. It's hard to kind of approximate child sim ages because there's no transition. I said what I said. let's move on. I brought some more of that lavender and the grass to the backyard. I just kind of liked there being a little patch there. I don't know. I gave them the woodworking table because I'm picturing that mom is, I don't think it's her career. I don't think she's an artist or anything, but I think that's like her little habit, her hobby, her quirk. And I think dad is more of a kind of a goofy, laid back, fun loving guy to sort of match his quirky, I think she's slightly uptight wife. Of course, this is just the family I'm imagining. If you imagine the storyline a little differently, that's perfectly okay. But that's kind of who I'm picturing living here. And then we jump into the interior because the backyard is finished. Oh yeah, I did give them a pool, by the way. I'm sure you saw it, but it's Oasis Springs. I feel like a pool is just necessary. But then we jump into the interior. I do the wallpaper on camera. I also did the flooring on camera. I typically cut those out because it takes me forever to decide on a color palette. This one I just went with my instinct, with what felt good, and I like it. I like the way that it all tied together. So hopefully you agree. If not, feel free to tell me why. This is a learning experience as always. I start with the bathroom. It's pretty simple. I decided not to go with a shower just because I included 2 windows. And I don't think the tub really takes any longer than the shower does. That could just be me. I don't know. But I use the shower and the tub evenly in game, so I don't have a problem bouncing back and forth. Then we jump into the kitchen, and I love the way that the space turned out. I decided to go with the blue modern base game cabinets that we got, and I decided to go with the lighter blue with the cream countertop to offset the white of the walls. That blue also comes with a white countertop, and it was just a little too bright for the space. I used white appliances though to kind of tie that white from the walls back in. I said white in my accent, I apologize. But to bring the white back in, I also gave them a dishwasher, which I usually forget about. So I'm kind of feeling proud about that. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't include curtains on either of these 2 windows. I try it and it just looks weird because of the cabinets. No matter what I chose, it was going to clip, and sometimes that doesn't bother me, but today it was just not happening. I was not having it. But I decided to throw in a microwave and a coffee pot, and there's still technically 2 countertops open for cooking, so you can use the group cooking if you want to. I didn't do that intentionally. It's just a big space, and it ended up working out that way. Now the dining space is kind of cramped into this corner. I only include 3 chairs because that's how many Sims I think are living here. There is room to pull it away from the wall, but I also include a bookshelf, and it may look like it's not usable, but there are no routing issues. I tested it. I got to every chair just fine. My Sim ate just fine. There were no issues, so it's functional. I did test for that. Sometimes I forget to test the dining chairs because it's just a given that it's going to work, but that one looked a little questionable even to me. This is about the moment where I realized I didn't have my OMSP shelf because we had an update, and I removed my custom content and I forgot to put it back. So that happened. It was not a big deal, but it was a little bit unplanned, and I had to change a few things in my head because some things are just no longer possible without the OMSP shelf. If they're not impossible, they're just really difficult to do, and I decided not to struggle. I decided to enjoy myself. So I just did things the old-fashioned way, and I did things as best as I could. So I placed things that would naturally snap to the slotted spaces and didn't really alt lift anything just because it was going to look flush. But as you can see, we did choose the modern fireplace, but the furnishings that I choose are not modern. They're more traditional. I liked that play of modern and traditional mixed together. I also like that the furniture is more of a cream warm tone. It's not a cool tone, and the fireplace is the cool tone. And I also like that glass top coffee table. I just forgot the word. I like the coffee table. I like that nothing in here matches, but I feel like it all goes together really, really well. It looks to me like a young couple truly lives here, and that maybe these are items that they purchased at different times. Maybe they were gifted, or, you know, they had some pieces before they got together and they just sort of mashed mashed their styles together. I did throw down this urn and I was trying to put some different plants in it to layer it like I usually do with the big pots. I decided to just go with that palm. Is it a palm tree? It's not a palm. Maybe it's a fern. Whatever it is. I decided to go with just that and leave it more simple because everything else was looking a little too weird and casting a shadow, and I wanted to prevent that if I could. I then decided on this back wall to use these two tall, thin bookcases. I wanted something big on this wall, and I decided that this family is probably into the arts a little bit, so reading is probably something that they do as a family. And then as you can see, I am putting together this sort of desk area with a shelf. I've done this before. I normally use a desk that gets really small. I don't have those options because it's base game, so I went with a dining table. It does poke through the wall. 100% it pokes through the wall, but I didn't have my little poof thing. Do you know what it's from Tiny Living. I didn't have that to cover it up, so I left it as is. I think before I upload it, I'm actually going to change that to a counterpiece so that it's smaller. But you can see it. It didn't bother me. It doesn't bother me when I was playtesting. I didn't even see it. So hopefully that doesn't bother you. If it does, feel free to swap that out. It's not necessary. I just felt like something needed to be in that corner, and I try to include computers when I remember to. Then we jump into the child's bedroom. I'm imagining a boy. It is gender neutral. It's blue and gray themed with penguins, so it is a fairly young room. They're definitely not transitioning to preteen yet, but you can tell that they are kind of figuring out what they're interested in. So on his wardrobe, for example, because again, I'm imagining it's a boy, I do include this mirror. It's one of my favorite things to do is merge this mirror into the wardrobe. It's the perfect height, and the color swatches, they complement it just so well. I love it. But on the wardrobe, on the other side, are some posters. So we've got the little calendar, and then we've got a soccer poster, and I include the little wizard. I think it's Henry Puffer. Maybe. It should have said it. I probably got it wrong, but it's Harry Potter, basically. So we can kind of see some of his personality kind of starting to show through a little bit. I give him the nightlight because no monsters allowed, and a little dinosaur stuffed animal, and I give them the science table because I imagine he's probably into that. He's a little creative, a little curious, and definitely a little bit of a whiz kid. And I give him a chair, that little bookcase thing. And that's it for his room. It's pretty simple, but pretty adorable, if I do say so myself. And then we jump into the master. Now this room looks a little bit more traditional. All of the pieces do match. I imagine that this is the room that they probably invested some money into the furniture in first, just because it is the master and it is their sanctuary, for lack of a better word. But on that note, I'm going to leave you guys here. As always, feel free to leave a like or a comment down below letting me know what you think. I will also be posting the screenshots on Instagram if you want to head over there and check those out. And you can subscribe if that is something that would spark joy for you. I'm saying this all out of order. I will see you on Wednesday with my next video. And in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely rest of your week. Bye, guys.